What's up, guys? Welcome back to Technique Tuesday. Now you're wondering, Steven, you just did a Technique Tuesday last Tuesday. That's how we say it down here, Tuesday. We did, all right? But guess what? I like to teach. You guys seem to like the technique breakdowns, so we're just gonna be giving that to you more often on a weekly basis, and we're moving the vlogs to every other week. Content's still gonna be the same. We're just gonna have some fun. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so the technique for this Tuesday is pretty simple, and you guys have seen this. Probably the most technique thrown in any fight sport is the jab. Now, we're not just gonna throw any jab, we're gonna be working on the shuffle jab, so there's some movement along in that as well. Now, the jab is a very basic technique, yes, but it's probably one of the most important techniques that you're gonna have in your arsenal. You can use it offensively, you can use it defensively, you're gonna use that jab to help set up your other techniques, such as following up with your big power hand, or setting up your kick, or even a takedown. Now, there are a few variations of the jab that you guys have probably seen in the fight game, or that I even use in my fight. If you ever watch my fights, I got different jabs that I like to use for different reasons. Number one, you have just the classic jab, the straight out and the straight back. I like to have my hands fairly low, so my jabs kind of seem to come up from the bottom here. And it doesn't have to be here. Sometimes I like to turn my fist just like so, or even like Muhammad Ali, the flicking jab. Now, you can use the jab to knock somebody out with, to use it as a distraction, or even a rangefinder. Now, the jab that I'm gonna be focused on today is just the classic jab, something very simple. Now, there's a few things you gotta know when you even throw something basic as a jab. Number one, whenever I execute my jab, I gotta have my shoulders in a straight line. When I do this, I'm actually farther away from my opponent. I get more reach on that jab and more power because I've got my whole body in a straight line. I'm using my body behind that jab. Number two, I want to make sure my shoulder is rolled up to protect this side. I see this all the time. People jabbing, chin sticking straight up in the air, shoulders aren't in a straight line, which means number one, they don't have the maximum reach on it. Two, they're open for a left hook. With this jab, there's a little hidden gem that not a whole lot of people talk about that I have heard of, and that's actually what I like to call the initial movement. Whenever you're throwing a jab, and some of you guys have probably seen this before whenever you sparred with somebody, it's almost like they know what you're gonna do before you do it. Because there's a slight telegraph with just about everybody. And you gotta kind of minimize that whenever you practice this jab. And that could be moving the shoulder first, maybe bringing the elbow back, or even dropping it down. And I've seen this common, people will bounce, and before they throw a technique, they always stop before they execute that jab. So be careful of doing that whenever you're out there sparring, all right? Initial movement, wherever that hand's at, that's where you throw it from. All right, let's talk about the key component to this technique, and that's the shuffle movement, going to point A to point B very quickly. All right, the key to making this shuffle movement work is having a good fighting stance. Making sure your feet are wide enough to be able to launch yourself forward. Just like some of the fastest people in the world, world-class sprinters, you'll never see a sprinter stand up straight and take off that way. You gotta get those feet wide and low. The first step to this movement is making sure my front foot moves first. All right? Now, I see this a lot in the shuffle movement. Some people get ready to move forward, they pick the leg up, and then they try and shuffle. Well, that's a huge telegraph. You don't want your opponent to let you know you're coming. So what I do is, instead of picking the foot up, I just move it straight out. All right? My foot moves out, my back foot pushes. Very simple. All right, let me show you again. I'm in my fighting stance, my feet are in good position, foot moves forward, almost like I'm gonna step on a bug with my front foot. So now let's put it together. We got the shuffle movement down, now let's get that jab in there. Whenever you guys execute this shuffle jab, I gotta make sure that you don't shuffle forward, land, and then try to throw the jab. That's a big telegraph. So what I like to do is, as I move my front foot forward, is when my jab starts to go out. So as my back foot moves forward, or my front foot moves forward, bang, that's when I throw my jab. All right, number one, it's gonna help you get in there quick. Two, it's gonna make that jab really strong because now you got your whole body behind it. And while I'm there, I'm in good position to be able to bail out, to shuffle back, or to cut off at an angle. Now I'm gonna show you guys this technique in full form. I'm gonna work my shuffle, real-time speed, and then we'll slow it down for you. Now you can get it with some movement too. I like to move around. Whenever I bounce, it also helps disguise that initial movement, that telegraph. All right, guys, there you have it, the shuffle jab. We took something very basic, added a little movement in there, which takes that jab up to another level. Now you're gonna be able to hit people with that jab and really add on some good stuff, kicks, punches, takedowns. I hope you guys like it. Now go practice.